Welcome to the world of science fiction where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. Captain Jet Marlowe leaned back in his chair on the bridge of the Nomad, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. His fingers tapped rhythmically on the console as he muttered under his breath, "Another day in paradise." Across from him, Dr. Eliza Blackwood glanced up from her workstation. "Careful, Captain," she said with a wry smile. "Your sarcasm might overload Iris's circuits." The ship's eye, Iris, materialized as a holographic projection above the navigation console, a stylized face framed by swirling nebula-like hair. "Sarcasm detected," Iris quipped, adjusting humor algorithms accordingly. "Don't bother," Jet replied dryly. "The only thing keeping me sane out here is your terrible sense of humor." "Noted," Iris said with mock solemnity before adding, "Also noted, our patrol route remains as uneventful as ever. Shall I log this under mind-numbing monotony?" Before Jet could respond, Wrench, Raul Vega, emerged from a maintenance hatch covered in grease. "If you two are done flirting with the eye," he said gruffly, wiping his hands on a rag, "I got news. Port thrusters are running at peak efficiency again." "Thrilling," Eliza said with feigned enthusiasm. "Maybe next week we'll discover a new kind of space dust." As if on cue, Iris interrupted. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomaly. A distress signal bearing 227 Mark 16. Jet straightened in his chair. "Federation." "Negative," Iris replied. "Unknown configuration. It doesn't match any patterns in our database." Eliza frowned. "Could be pirates setting a trap. Or something else entirely," Jet mused. He hesitated for only a moment before making his decision. "Plot a course." "Iris." Wrench raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this?" "Protocol says we report it and move on." "Protocol also said to leave civilians behind during Proxima Centauri," Jet said quietly. The memory still haunted him. Disobeying orders had saved lives but cost him his career. "Understood," Wrench said after a pause. He moved to prepare the jump drive. The Nomad emerged from hyperspace moments later into a field of debris. Twisted metal fragments drifting silently in zero gravity. "Scan for life signs," Jet ordered. Iris responded almost immediately. One faint signal detected aboard what appears to be an escape pod. Jet activated the shipwide comms. "Dr. Blackwood, prepare for possible casualties." Eliza was already heading toward medbay when she replied, "On it." The retrieval drone brought the escape pod aboard soon after. Through the observation window of the cargo bay, Jet watched as automated systems cut through its damaged hull. "What am I looking at?" he asked as Iris analyzed the material. "Unknown composition," she replied. "It appears to be both solid and fluid simultaneously. A silicon-based polymer unlike anything we've encountered before." When they finally breached the pod's interior, they found its occupant, a humanoid figure unconscious but alive. Her skin was deep violet with faint bioluminescent patterns that pulsed like living circuitry. "Biological scan complete," Iris announced as Jet approached cautiously in an environmental suit. "Species designation unknown, but bears similarities to classified Federation records of Zarians." Jet frowned. "Zarians? Never heard of them." "You wouldn't have," Eliza said as she entered behind him. Her voice was tinged with awe as she looked at their guest. "They're practically mythical, a species whose biology is supposedly incompatible with all known life forms." As they transferred her to medbay for treatment, Jet couldn't shake an uneasy feeling, a sense that this encounter would change everything. When Zara awoke moments later and locked eyes with him, he knew he was right. Dr. Eliza Blackwood hovered over Zara's biometric data, her brow furrowed in concentration. The alien's vitals defied explanation. Her metabolism burned at a rate that should have incinerated her from the inside out, yet her skin glowed with a soft, ethereal light. "Captain," Eliza called without looking up, "you need to see this." Jet entered medbay, still in his environmental suit. Zara lay motionless on the diagnostic table, her violet skin stark against the sterile white sheets. Eris projected holographic charts around her, each one flashing mornings in crimson. "Her enzymes," Eliza said, tapping a display. "They're breaking down the table's polymer coating." "Right now." Jet glanced down. A faint smoldering line traced the edge of the table where Zara's arm rested. And yet, Eliza's voice trailed off. She gestured to Jet's bare hand, which he'd left exposed during the rescue. It showed no signs of damage. "Immunity," Jet suggested. "Not possible," Iris chimed in. "Zarian's corrosive secretions are legendary. Federation records claim they can dissolve duracrete in seconds." Zara stirred, her bioluminescent markings flickering. She spoke in a series of clicks and whistles, then froze, realizing no one understood her. "Language matrix activating," Iris said. A holographic overlay flickered over Zara's face, translating her words into stilted Federation standard. "Danger. They hunted." Jet knelt beside her. "Who's hunting you?" Zara's gaze darted between him and Eliza. "Harvesters." She spat the word. "They take our kind for weapons." Eliza's eyes widened. "You're a biologist." Zara nodded, her throat working. "Studying compatibility. Why some species resist our enzymes." Jet's mind raced. "And you think I'm one of them?" Before she could answer, Iris interrupted. "Captain, we have company. Federation patrol ship Vigilance hailing us." Jet cursed under his breath. "Put them through." Commander Voss's face appeared on the view screen, his expression cold. "Nomad, this is an unauthorized deviation from your patrol route." "Explain." Jet leaned back in his chair, adopting a bored tone. "Routine maintenance, Commander. Thruster calibration." Voss's eyes narrowed. "We detected an alien life form aboard. Surrender it immediately." Zara's bioluminescent patterns flared wildly. She grabbed Jet's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. "No, they will kill me." Jet met Voss's glare. "Negative, Commander. The specimen is under our protection." Voss's face turned red. "You're ordered." "Commander," Jet cut in, "I'm invoking Article 7 of the Frontier Charter. Alien refugees fall under our jurisdiction until proven hostile." The comm screen flickered as Voss's transmission cut off. "Smooth," Wrench muttered from the doorway. "Now we've got the Federation and these harvesters on our tail." Jet turned to Zara. "Tell me everything." Zara's revelation. The alien story spilled out in fragmented bursts. Her people, the Zarians, had evolved on a planet where corrosive enzymes were a survival mechanism. Over millennia, they'd learned to control their secretions, using them for medicine, art, even diplomacy. But harvesters, they see only weapons, Zara said bitterly. "They raid our colonies, take our young. Experiment." Eliza's hands hovered over a hologram of Zara's DNA. "Your enzymes are alive. They adapt to their target's molecular structure." Zara nodded. "Yes, but you?" She stared at Jet. "Your cells shift like liquid. My enzymes cannot grip." Jet frowned. "Liquid cells." "Metaphor," Iris clarified. "Your genetic markers show anomalies, residual code from early human experiments with alien DNA." Eliza's eyes locked onto Jet's. "The Archaea Project." Jet's gut tightened. He'd heard whispers of the project, a secret Federation program that had spliced alien genes into human embryos decades ago. "You're saying I'm a lab rat?" "Not just you," Iris said, "but you're the only one we found who survived the trials." Zara's voice cut through the tension. "Survived? You mean others died?" Jet nodded grimly. "The Federation buried it, called it a failed experiment." The silence that followed was oppressive. The Federation's ultimatum. Commander Voss reappeared on the view screen hours later, flanked by two heavily armed Marines. Nomad, this is your final warning. Surrender the alien or face charges of treason. Jet leaned forward, his voice steady. Article 7 still applies. Commander, you'll need a court order. Voss smirked. I have something better. The Vigilance's tractor beam locked onto the Nomad, jerking the ship violently. Wrench, Jet barked. Can you? Already on it, the engineer growled, sprinting toward engineering. Eliza grabbed Jet's arm. We can't outrun them. But Zara's enzymes. Jet's eyes widened. You're suggesting we weaponize her? Not her, Eliza said. You. Zara's bioluminescent patterns pulsed urgently. No, I will not harm your kind. Jet hesitated. The Federation had already branded him a traitor. What was one more risk? Do it, he said finally. Eliza rushed to medbay, returning with a syringe filled with Zara's saliva. Jet's heart raced as she injected it into his arm. Wait, Iris warned. We don't know. Too late for doubts, Jet said, watching as the enzymes spread through his veins. Zara's hologram flickered in front of him. Jet. Stop. You do not understand. Understand what? Jet demanded. That I'm a freak. That my DNA is a relic of some twisted experiment. The enzyme reached his heart. For a moment, there was nothing. Then a searing heat unlike anything Jet had ever felt. Report, he roared, doubling over. Enzyme adapting, Iris said. It's bonding with your cells, creating a hybrid structure. Jet straightened, his vision clearing. Do it. Eliza nodded, injecting herself and Wrench with smaller doses. Escape. The Nomad lurched as Wrench disabled the tractor beam. Jet sprinted to the bridge, Zara's enzyme coursing through him like liquid fire. Voss, he said, voice steady, you've got two options. Let us go, or watch your ship dissolve. The Vigilance's hull began to smolder where the Nomad's modified tractor beam touched it. Voss's face turned white. Withdraw, he spat. Jet grinned. Smart man. As the Vigilance retreated, Zara appeared beside him. Her markings dimmed. Thank you, she said softly. Jet turned to her. You're welcome. But next time, let's stick to diplomacy. Zara's hologram flickered. A Zarian smile. Agreed. Aftermath. Later, in the mess hall, Wrench tossed a protein bar at Jet. You're a walking biohazard now. Jet caught it. At least I'm useful. Eliza leaned against the counter, eyes fixed on Zara, who sat cross-legged on the floor, studying a hologram of her people's homeworld. She's not just a refugee, Eliza said. She's a key to understanding why your immunity exists and how to stop these harvesters. Jet nodded. Then let's get to work. Zara looked up, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing in time with Jet's heartbeat. Together, she said. Asterisk, asterisk. The Nomad's engines screamed as Wrench pushed them beyond safe limits, dodging debris in the asteroid belt. Jet gripped the armrests of his chair, his vision blurring at the edges. The hybrid enzyme still coursed through his veins, leaving his senses raw and heightened. Vigilance is gaining, Iris warned, her hologram flickering with urgency. Not possible, Wrench muttered, sweat dripping onto the console. We're burning fuel faster than a supernova. Jet's comms badge crackled. Nomad, this is Zara. I've plotted a course through the Kalin Rift. Narrow window, now. Do it, Jet barked. The ship shuddered as they plunged into the rift. A swirling vortex of unstable energy. Alarms blared. Eliza clung to her workstation, her knuckles white. This is why we're not paid enough, Wrench growled, wrestling with the controls. Bonding in the fray. Later in the cramped mess hall, Zara sat cross-legged on the floor, her bioluminescent patterns dimmed to a soft glow. Jet leaned against the counter, nursing a lukewarm coffee. You're quiet, he said. Zara tilted her head. Human, customs, confuse me. You risk everything for strangers. Why? Jet shrugged. Habit. No. She rose, her movements fluid. You care, even when it hurts. Eliza entered, a datapad in hand. Zara, I've analyzed your ship's logs. The Harvester's tech is organic. It adapts like your enzymes. Zara's markings flared. Yes, they graft our biology into their ships. Steel, our children, to grow new vessels. Jet's jaw tightened. We'll stop them. Zara's hologram flickered. A smile. Together. Ambush. The Nomad emerged from the rift into a graveyard of ships. Twisted hulls drifting in the void. Harvesters, Zara whispered, her voice trembling. A sleek, black vessel materialized from the shadows. Its hull rippled like living tissue, spewing forth a swarm of smaller ships shaped like razor-tooth moss. Defensive mode, Iris snapped. Jet's chair locked into combat position. Wrench, shields up. Eliza, hack their comms. The Nomad lurched as a Maw ship bit into its port flank. Alarms screamed. There, inside, Iris warned. Jet drew his sidearm. Eliza, SEAL engineering. Wrench, prep thee. A Harvester soldier emerged from the shadows. A towering figure with skin like cracked obsidian. Its eyes burned with bioluminescent green fire. You are the key, it rasped, its voice like grinding stone. Jet fired. The bullet ricocheted off the soldier's chest. Zara, he roared. The alien appeared behind him, her saliva dripping from her fingers. She flung it at the soldier. The creature dissolved into a puddle of bubbling sludge. Run, she said. The gambit. Dr. Eliza Blackwood stared at the holographic projection of Jet's DNA, her mind racing. The genetic marker linked to the Archaea project glowed like a neon thread in his helix, a relic of humanity's darkest experiments. Jet, she said quietly, your immunity isn't just luck. It's a key. Jet leaned against the medbay counter, his eyes narrowed. A key to what? Zara's hologram flickered as she entered, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing urgently. Neutralization. Your cells shift like liquid. My enzymes cannot grip. Eliza nodded. If we can replicate that hybrid structure, we might shield your species from the Harvesters. Jet's jaw tightened. And what's the cost? Risk, Zara said, but hope. The Archaea revelation. Later, in the cramped engineering bay, Wrench tossed a wrench, literal, onto the workbench. You're telling me the Federation engineered him? Not just him, Eliza said, projecting a hologram of the Archaea project's classified files. They spliced alien DNA into embryos decades ago. Most died. Jet's the only survivor. Jet's voice was cold. A lab rat. Zara's hologram softened. No, you are. Bridge. Between worlds. Wrench snorted. A bridge that's gonna get us killed. The crew's fracture. Tension simmered as the Nomad approached the derelict Harvester ship. Wrench cornered Jet in the cargo bay. We're risking everything for her, he said, voice low. What if this is a trap? Jet met his gaze. You think I'd let her hurt us? You're not the problem. Wrench snapped. It's her. And you. You're changing, Jet. Ever since that enzyme. Jet's hybrid cells pulsed, a reminder of the alien biology now woven into his own. Infiltration. The derelict Harvester ship loomed like a living nightmare, its hull a mass of writhing, organic tendrils. Jet, Zara, and Eliza suited up, armed with modified rifles firing enzyme-neutralizing rounds. Stay close, Jet ordered, his voice distorted by the suit's comms. Zara's hologram flickered. Harvesters. Grow. Their ships. Feed. Them. Pain. As they breached the airlock, a scream echoed through the corridors. A sound that was both human and not. The Harvester's secret. Deep in the ship's core, they found a chamber filled with Zarian children, suspended in stasis pods, their bioluminescent patterns dimmed. No, Zara whispered, her markings blazing. Jet's rifle locked onto the pods. "We're getting them out." But the harvesters had rigged the pods. Disabling them would trigger a self-destruct sequence. "Choice," Zara said, her voice trembling. "Save. Few. Or lose. All." Jet's hybrid cells pulsed. He remembered the Archaea Project's victims. Children like these, discarded for science. "Do it," he said. The gambit. Eliza worked frantically, bypassing the self-destruct. Zara's hologram flickered as she interfaced with the ship's organic systems. Almost. Jet's comms badge crackled. "Nomad, this is Wrench. Vigilance is back, and they're not alone." Jet's gut tightened. "Hold position. We're almost." The ship lurched. Alarms blared. "Harvesters. Boarding," Iris warned. "Sacrifice." Jet sprinted toward the bridge, rifle blazing. Wrench fought off harvesters in engineering, his voice trained over comms. "Need. Backup." Jet arrived to find the bridge overrun. A harvester soldier pinned Wrench to the floor, its obsidian blade raised. "No," Jet roared. He flung himself at the soldier, his hybrid cells adapting mid-leap. The blade bit into his shoulder, but instead of blood, a viscous, enzyme-neutralizing fluid spilled out. "Run," Jet gasped, collapsing. Wrench stared. Jet. Aftermath. Later in medbay, Eliza stitched Jet's wound. Zara hovered beside him, her markings dimmed. "Why?" she asked. Jet smiled weakly. "You're not alone." The data they'd recovered pulsed on a hologram, proof of the harvester's exploitation, and Jet's hybrid DNA. Zara's hologram flickered. Enough to stop them. The Nomad limped through hyperspace, pursued by a harvester fleet. Jet's hybrid cells pulsed with a strange liquid energy, his body now a battleground between human and alien biology. "They're gaining," Iris warned. Zara's hologram flickered on the bridge. "Jet, I can help." Jet met her gaze. "How?" "Your cells adapt. Let me merge with you." Eliza's eyes widened. "You're suggesting a full symbiosis." Zara nodded. "Yes. Together, we can neutralize their ships." Jet hesitated. The enzyme had already changed him. How much further could he go? "Do it," he said finally. The symbiosis. In medbay, Zara's saliva dripped into Jet's open wound. The enzyme surged through him, rewriting his DNA at a molecular level. His vision blurred as his cells shifted. Liquid, adaptable, alien. "Jet." Eliza's voice was distant. "Your vitals are spiking." "Almost." Zara's hologram pulsed. "Now." Jet's body arched. When he collapsed, his skin glowed faintly violet. The battle. The Nomad emerged into a maelstrom. Harvester ships swarmed like living shadows. Jet stood on the bridge, his hybrid cells humming. "Fire. At will," he said. The ship's weapons blazed. But instead of destroying the harvesters, they merged with Jet's cells. His body became a conduit, a bridge between the Nomad's tech and Zara's biology. "It's working," Iris said. "The harvesters' ships are dissolving." But the cost was clear. Jet's body began to shift, his limbs elongating, his skin cracking with bioluminescent veins. "Jet." Zara's voice trembled. "Stop. You are losing yourself." Jet's grin was twisted. Too late. The sacrifice. The harvester flagship loomed, a monstrosity of writhing tendrils. Jet stepped into its maw, his hybrid cells blazing. "Jet." Eliza screamed. He ignored her. Inside the ship's core, he found the harvester's queen, a creature of pure corrosive energy. "You are the key," it hissed. Jet laughed. "Wrong." He flung himself at the queen, his cells merging with hers. The enzyme surged, neutralizing the harvester's fleet in a chain reaction. When the Nomad's crew found him, Jet lay motionless on the flagship's floor. His body was human again, but his eyes glowed faintly violet. The aftermath. Zara knelt beside him, her markings dimmed. Jet. He stirred, his voice hoarse. Still here. The Liza's eyes welled with tears. We did it. The data's secure. Your DNA. Save it, Jet said. Zara needs it. The alien's hologram flickered. Thank you. Jet sat up, wincing. Don't thank me yet. I'm still figuring out what I am. The departure. Days later, the Nomad hovered near Zara's homeworld, a planet of swirling violet clouds. Zara stood on the cargo bay's observation deck, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing. You are welcome, she said. Always. Jet nodded. Likewise. As she stepped into her escape pod, Wrench tossed her a protein bar. For the road. Zara's hologram flickered. A smile. Human, customs. Epilogue. The catalyst. The Nomad sailed into the unknown, its crew forever changed. Jet's hybrid cells hummed, a reminder of the alien within him. Course? Iris asked. Jet grinned. Wherever the void takes us. Eliza leaned back in her chair. And if the Federation comes knocking? Jet's violet eyes glinted. We'll adapt. Final scene. Zara's escape pod landed on her homeworld. She emerged, her markings blazing as she approached her people. Sisters, she said. Brothers, we have hope. The Zarian's bioluminescent patterns pulsed in unison. A chorus of light. And in the distance, a lone starship vanished into the void. A crew of misfits, a captain with alien blood, and the promise of a new frontier.